I do hours upon hours of research of everything that I'm going to say to make sure that it's as true as I can make it. And I speak to people in the White House, I speak to people in the Senate, the Congress, I speak to people in the intelligence services of both us and the United States, I speak to members of the Knesset, I speak to members of the State Department. And this information I'm going to tell you, you might say, I don't know, maybe he's a rabbi, as you know this stuff. I'm telling you, this stuff is true. In the middle of September 2024, we watched the greatest intelligence operation unfold. And a 27-year-old analyst, she sat behind a desk, and she's going through the data from the war after the war, and she's seeing the pictures of the bodies of the Hezbollah fighters that are coming in, and she notices that each of them, on their chest, above their hearts, wears a walkie-talkie. And she goes to her boss at the time, who was the division head, and she says to Yossi, she says, how great would it be if we could put a bomb inside each of those walkie-talkies? Thousands of Hezbollah fighters. You just push a button, and they all have an explosive charge go over their hearts and kill them. Just drop dead right there. Most of our lives, when we suggest ideas to our bosses or to our teachers or to our administrators, and they're out of whack and they're not possible to be done, we're told that's not possible. And Mossad's ethos are different. It's a challenge. Okay, figure out how you're going to do it. So she created a shell company in Germany, which worked with a small company in Taiwan, which provided communications equipment to companies all over the world. They had a great online business. Dinky little store in Taiwan, but great online business. And the next time Hezbollah came around ordering walkie-talkies, this partnership, this shell company in Germany, interrupted the supply chain and injected a little C4 into every single one of those walkie-talkies with a remote detonating device. Thousands of Hezbollah fighters wore them for 10 years. It's a little bomb on their chest that they were unaware of. Nasrallah Mashima, the head of Hezbollah, at a certain point after 10 years, got paranoid about Israel eavesdropping on him and figured they were doing so through the walkie-talkies. And he ordered that Israel, being a high-tech country, Hezbollah would have to go low-tech to make sure that Israel could not interfere with their communications. So the most low-tech thing he could think of was a pager. No one had seen a pager for 15 years. You cannot go online and buy 20 pagers. You can't find them on eBay. Nobody has 20 pagers, let alone 5,000. Eavesdropping on this conversation, the Mossad agent, now 15 years later, tells her shell companies, we got to restock pagers, which is the equivalent today of saying we should restock rotary phones. You're like, that's crazy. Who in the world is going to buy this? But we got to have thousands available. 3 days later, the bet paid off. A request comes in for 5,000 pagers. We're all too happy to supply those pagers with a little C4 and a detonating device inside of them. And Hezbollah fighters are walking around on their waist with these pagers. After October 7th, Nasrallah sees what Yahya Sinwar Yamach Shimo was doing with his communications, and he has switched to no digital communications to make sure that Israel could not eavesdrop and was passing messages through the tunnels. And Nasrallah says that's what we have to do. We have to do that. Nasrallah orders in 3 days' time for everybody to take their pagers, put them up in the closet next to the walkie-talkies, and they're going to go through handheld communications. Israel hears this and comes to Prime Minister Netanyahu and says, listen, you don't have to blow them all up, but if you don't do it now, it's never going to happen. They're never going to have these pagers. This is our only opportunity. It's use it or lose it time. Prime Minister Netanyahu orders on a Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. One page goes out to all the members of Hezbollah that have these pagers. It's over 5,000 people. Hold the pager up against as close as possible to your eyes. Push 2 buttons simultaneously, and the classified message will appear. The reason Israel was doing that was to get it as close as possible to their brains. Not everybody, if you remember the famous video of the bomb that went off in the grocery store, not everybody answered the page. Israel blew up all the pagers. Only 42 people were killed by them, but over 3,000 fighters were taken off the battlefield that day, injured beyond the ability to fight ever again. How many Israeli soldiers were in operation on that battle? 0. The next day, you got to imagine that night, as one intelligence officer told me, he said, it's not that nobody else has ever done something like that before, it's that it's beyond the imagination of any intelligence service to even put something like that into play. They come back the next day to the Mossad headquarters. When they turn on the live stream from their drones and of the Lebanese news and see at the funerals that Nasrallah has ordered the remaining fighters to put the walkie-talkies on so that he could communicate with them, you got to imagine that was the Hava Nagila moment where they all start dancing and looking for the old detonator. And they blew it up. And 25 more fighters died on the spot. I was watching the funerals and saw the bombs going off and wondering to myself, who in the world is blowing up Hezbollah funerals? It was us. Tuesday afternoon, the first wave goes. Wednesday afternoon, the second wave goes. Thursday was the greatest of the days, because Thursday, Nasrallah ordered that the 20 remaining commanders, high-ranking people within the Hezbollah organization, do not use any form of technology, but rather get together in person at a certain apartment. 3 F-15s took off from Ramat David Air Force Base and planted 3 missiles straight through a window into their meeting and took out the 20 commanders. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Hezbollah is no longer a threat to the state of Israel, to the Jewish people. How many soldiers did we lose? Out of the pages of Tanakh, 0. Now that Hezbollah is gone, attention focuses on Syria. Syria's been going through a civil war for the last 10 years. Assad, who was the head of Syria, Assad was protected by Hezbollah and by the Syrian army. Hezbollah is no longer protecting him. And a true Russia, a man named al-Sha'ara, who is now the president of Syria with a $10 million bounty on his head from the United States, realizes this is his chance and orders his troops in. The hardest Israel ever fought was December 8th and 9th of last year, and most Israelis, most people in Israel, have no idea it happened. On December 8th and December 9th, as al-Sha'ara's forces came into Syria, everybody in the Kiryat, our Pentagon in Tel Aviv, realized, take out all the Syrian files, every attack plan. It's absolute chaos there. Put them all into play right now. 350 planes go off on 350 missions. That, over the course of 48 hours, we bombed every single Syrian Air Force jet. None remained. We bombed every single Syrian Navy boat. None remained. We killed every single general and assassinated them. None remained. We killed every single nuclear scientist working on their nuclear weapons program. None remained. We killed every single chemical scientist working on Syria's chemical weapons, which they had and don't remain anymore, and they don't remain anymore. We killed everybody, took southern Syria for ourselves as a buffer zone. And how many soldiers fell in those battles as we raced across Syria, bombing them and assassinating their people? 0. Out of the pages of Tanakh, we did not lose one soldier in Syria. With Hezbollah and Syria out of the picture, Iran is left vulnerable. An F-35 fighter jet costs $235 million each. And for every hour that it's in the air, it requires 8 hours of maintenance. The United States Air Force, at any given time, its planes are in 51% readiness. That means they need double the amount of planes to fight a war, because 50% of the planes are always under maintenance. That's acceptable numbers for mechanical engineering for airplanes. That's how it works. When Prime Minister Netanyahu plans the attack on Iran, he's going to fly 200 planes, 4 hours, 2,000 kilometers to Iran, and then 2,000 back, another 4 hours. An hour over the air avoiding anti-aircraft fire. The stress on the airplane is tremendous. Stress on the pilot is tremendous. And the acceptable losses are 8 planes on every round of fighting. 8 planes will suffer mechanical failures. Just imagine how many times you've been on a passenger jet, which is a lot less complicated of an airplane, and the pilot announces, I'm sorry, we have like a 20, 30-minute delay. Something on the plane broke. You need to bring a mechanic out to fix it. For an F-35, 8 drop out of the plane on every round. Means we lose 8 pilots. 192 planes come back, 100 require more maintenance. Only 90 go back. Of the 90, another 8 drop. Over the course of 10 days, we're looking at 60 dead pilots, 60 lost planes, and about half the planes at any given time back on the runway for maintenance, some of them not being able to take off ever again. We suffered no losses. We didn't even have a plane that required significant maintenance. The way a mechanical engineer explained this to me is that it's impossible, except that it happened. The American ambassador told me they still can't file reports. They don't know how to explain this. It's impossible for this to have happened. Impossible. We're not talking about it's unlikely. We're not talking about the odds are against it. We're talking about the manufacturer will tell you it's impossible. Today, the United States Air Force is rethinking its entire approach to how to fight wars and how to get 90% of its planes in the air every single time, just as we had. While we're doing this over Iran, we have 2 more operations going on. Operation Narnia and Operation Red Wedding, which kills all the scientists and all the generals in Iran. Nobody even knows this happened. We had soldiers everywhere. We had a base in Iran for years producing drones. In Iran, we had soldiers. It's amazing to think about how we did this. How many soldiers did we lose in the attacks on Iran? 0. The news put out a story, the Israeli news, because it's censored, that most of the missiles that came in from Iran were blown up by Iron Dome, by David Sling, or by Arrow. It's not true. They landed. And they landed hard. Our office, Nefesh B'Nefesh, we had a missile land across the street from us in Tel Aviv. Our office was out of commission for 2 months and needed 2 months worth of renovations. That's how hard these missiles hit. A missile hit a 30-story building in Tel Aviv where American military personnel stay. Half the building came down. Not one person went to the hospital. American engineers from the State Department went out the next day to look at it and said it's impossible. Soroka Hospital. The director of Soroka Hospital looked at one of its 8 buildings and saw it and said, if the missile hits this building, I don't know why he wasn't concerned about all the others, this will be bad. Empty the building. The next day it took a direct hit. Nobody was hurt. Not killed. Nobody was hurt because nobody was in the building. In Yerushalayim, This is going to scare some people. We have a funeral home called Shamgar. Shamgar also stores dead bodies. Shamgar was ordered by the Israeli government on Friday morning after the Thursday night attacks to order extra freezers for tens of thousands of bodies from Jerusalem. The American government told me the expected losses on the Iran attack back at us. Listen, between 80 and 100,000 Israelis dead. 80 to 100,000. That's a lot of us. The Iran war, on the attack back against us, we lost less than 40 people. Can't explain that. February 20th, 2025. Everybody knows what happened that day? That day, we should be saying Hallel, probably not based on the English date, but on the Hebrew date. So at 9 o'clock that night, when 3 buses blew up in a parking lot in Bat Yam, and a woman found a bomb under her seat in another bus, and all the buses in Israel were told to pull over, and one more bomb was found. When you build a bomb, you got to be really careful, because you make a mistake, and that's the end of you. The plan, 5 buses would blow up in downtown Tel Aviv, and they would kill 1,000 Jews, injure thousands more. Can you imagine another October 7th? But they made a mistake, an inexplainable mistake. They make it once, I can understand, but they made it 5 times in a row. And they set the bombs for instead of 9 a.m. for 9 p.m. So when they blew up, nobody was injured. Inexplainable. The last story I'm going to share with you is that they found Sinwar's plans. Yahya Sinwar was the head of Hamas, and they found his plans. And the plans were for the October 7th attack not to be on October 7th, but to be a coordinated attack. And listen very carefully to this. The coordinated attack was supposed to be Hamas doing what it did, Hezbollah firing 50 to 100,000 rockets at northern Israel, coming across the border, and Iran firing its ballistic missiles at us. Palestinians in Yehuda v'Shomron would have rebelled, would have gone town to town murdering. We would have had, at best, millions of dead Jews, and still had our country. That's best case scenario. Expected scenario from that plan is there's no state of Israel, there's millions of dead Jews, and millions of Jews being held hostage. What happens after that? Our nightmares can't fathom. For reasons we'll never know, Sinwar jumped the gun and went early without telling Hezbollah and Iran. And what should have been the end of us turned out to be an amazing Yeshua, an amazing salvation. Every single thing that we've had, every salvation, whether it's Hanukkah, Jews in Mitzrayim, Jews were killed, and we lost people. In modern times, the Yom Kippur War victory, 6-Day War, 1948, we lost 1% of the Jewish people in Israel. There's always loss, but there's also tremendous Yeshua. What we've experienced the last 2 years, we can't fathom it because we're in it. It's hard for us to see it. But we've experienced the greatest miracles that we've seen in centuries. Ask yourself of the stories that I've told you tonight. If the Chashmonaim would come back in time and they would hear this talk tonight, would they not say, we're jealous of you? We took out 1 army. You took out 7. We had losses. You had very few to none in many of your wars. We can't see it. We're in it. But it's there, right in front of our face. Bizman hazeh are the tremendous miracles and nisim of Hashgacha that we've had over the last 2 years. If it wasn't Asr, we should be saying Hallel every single day. We should wake up and say, I'm Zochet to live at this time. Our grandchildren will look back at this time and they will ask us, how amazing was it to live at this time? And we're going to have to answer, you had to be there to see it.